boy dreams of being a ballet dancer and is mocked, but when he takes the stage, his performance amazes everyone. Oliver Hart sat on a bench outside the community center, his heart racing. He watched as the local dance company flowed through their routine, each leap and spin a testament to their grace and freedom. The music pulsed through the air, and for a moment, he felt like he could jump up and join them. But reality crashed down as he remembered where he was, a 14-year-old boy trapped between the dream of becoming a dancer and the heavy expectations of his life. "Why can't I just be me?" Oliver whispered to himself, frustration bubbling inside him. His father, a former football player, always pushed him to follow in his footsteps. "You have to be strong, Oliver. Football is where the future is," he often said, his voice booming like a coach on the field. Meanwhile, his mother, an art teacher, filled their home with creativity and passion. "Dance is a beautiful way to express yourself," she would encourage. At that moment, Oliver felt the tension between their worlds. He wanted to dance, to feel the music lift him. But every time he thought of it, the laughter of his classmates echoed in his mind. "Look at Oliver, the dancer," they would taunt. He could hear their voices, mocking and relentless. The pressure built inside him, a storm of conflicting emotions. "Why do they care so much?" he muttered under his breath, watching the dancers twirl effortlessly. What would it take for them to understand? Just then, a group of kids from his school passed by, their laughter ringing out like a cruel symphony. "Look, it's the ballerina!" one of them shouted, pointing at him. The words stung, and Oliver's heart sank. He wished he could blend in, to be just another face in the crowd, instead of the target of their jokes. Yet, amidst the chaos of his thoughts, something caught his ear. A conversation floated through the air, drawing his attention. "Did you hear about the audition for the ballet? It's for the summer performance," one dancer exclaimed, excitement bubbling in her voice. Oliver's heart skipped a beat. An audition, a chance to show everyone what he could do? He leaned closer, straining to hear more. "It's a big deal. If you get in, it could change everything." Oliver's mind raced. This was his opportunity, the moment he had been waiting for. But doubt crept in. What if he failed? What if his classmates laughed even harder? He shook his head, trying to clear the thoughts. "What if I don't even try?" he whispered to himself, feeling the weight of indecision. He remembered his mother's words. Dance is about expressing who you are inside. Could he really take that step? Could he be brave enough to follow his dream, even when it felt impossible? The thought ignited a spark in him. Maybe, just maybe, he could prove everyone wrong. Determined, he stood up from the bench, clenching his fists. "I'm going to do it," he said quietly, his voice steady. "I'll audition, and I'll show them." The weight of his father's expectations still pressed down on him, but the thought of dancing made him feel lighter. With renewed purpose, Oliver took a deep breath, feeling the music from the rehearsal seep into his soul. As he walked away from the community center, he knew he had a decision to make. The dream of dance called to him, and he could not ignore it any longer. In that moment, he resolved to embrace his passion, even if it meant facing ridicule. He would take that leap into the world of dance and into the unknown. The journey ahead would not be easy, but for the first time, Oliver felt a flicker of hope. This was just the beginning. Oliver stood nervously outside the local ballet school, his heart pounding like a drum. He had made the decision to enroll, but the fear of judgment still lingered in his mind. Taking a deep breath, he pushed open the door and stepped inside. The airy studio was filled with the sound of music and the soft thud of feet on the polished floor. As he entered, Oliver noticed a group of dancers practicing at the bar. They moved in perfect harmony, and he felt both excitement and fear wash over him. He took a few steps forward, trying to blend into the background. It was then that he spotted her. Maya, a girl with flowing dark hair and a warm smile. She was graceful, and her movements seemed to tell a story. "Hey, You must be new, Maya called out, her eyes sparkling. I'm Maya. What's your name? I'm Oliver, he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. Awesome. Welcome. We're just about to start a warm-up. Come join us. Maya gestured for him to come closer. With a hesitant smile, he joined the group. As they began to stretch and move together, Oliver felt a wave of relief. Here, he was not just the boy who danced. He was one of them. The laughter and chatter around him felt like a warm embrace, unlike the harsh words he faced at school. As the weeks passed, Oliver found a safe haven within the walls of the ballet school. He immersed himself in the classes, learning new techniques and discovering the joy of dance. Each movement felt like a release, a way to escape the stress of his life outside. Oliver, you're really improving, Maya cheered one day after class. You should try out for the spring performance. I know you can do it. Really? Oliver looked at her, uncertainty clouding his face. I don't know if I'm good enough. Of course you are. Just look at how far you've come. Don't let those bullies at school get in your head. They don't understand what it means to dance, she encouraged, her voice filled with conviction. Despite Maya's encouragement, doubts crept into his mind. Every time he thought of the boys from school, he could hear their mocking laughter. Look at the dancer, they would say, their voices echoing in his memory. Oliver often found himself staring at his reflection in the studio mirrors, questioning if he could really succeed. One afternoon, as they practiced a particularly challenging routine, Oliver stumbled and fell to the floor. The laughter of his classmates echoed in his ears, and he felt a wave of shame wash over him. Oliver, don't worry about it. Everyone falls. Maya rushed over, offering him a hand. Get up, let's try again together. With her support, he stood up and shook off the embarrassment. Okay, let's do it, he said, determination shining in his eyes. As the music played again, he focused on the rhythm and the movement. He remembered Maya's words and let the music guide him. With each step, Oliver felt a sense of joy and freedom that he hadn't experienced in a long time. Later, as they took a break, Maya turned to him. You know, you have something special, Oliver. You just need to believe in yourself. Thanks, Maya. It's hard sometimes, he admitted, looking down at his feet. I just want to be accepted. You will be, she said confidently. Just keep dancing. This is where you belong. As the days went by, Oliver started to feel more at home in the ballet school. He laughed with his classmates, shared stories, and found comfort in their shared love of dance. Each class became a reminder of who he truly was, a dancer who cherished the art form and the community around it. However, the taunts from school still lingered in the back of his mind, casting shadows over his newfound happiness. He wondered if he would ever escape their judgment. But for now, he held on to the moments of joy he found in the dance studio, cherishing the safe haven it provided in his life. The sun cast a soft glow over the ballet school as excitement buzzed in the air. News had spread like wildfire. The school was holding an audition for a special performance. Oliver Hart felt a mix of joy and nerves as he listened to the chatter around him. His heart raced. This could be his moment. Did you hear? The audition is next week, Maya exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. She had become Oliver's closest friend at the ballet school, and her passion for dance matched his own. You have to show them what you can do, Oliver. I know, Oliver replied, his voice barely above a whisper. But what if I mess up? What if I'm not good enough? The doubt crept in like an unwelcome guest, taking hold of his mind. Maya placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. You've been working so hard. Remember what we talked about? Just dance like no one is watching. Let your heart lead you. As the days passed, Oliver couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. During one of his practices, he overheard a few classmates laughing in the corner of the studio. I can't believe Oliver thinks he can actually audition for that performance, one of them snickered. He's just a wannabe dancer. Oliver's stomach twisted at the sound of their words. He turned away, his heart sinking. It wasn't the first time he had been the target of cruel jokes. But this felt different. This time, it felt personal. He had worked so hard to find his place, and now it seemed like the walls were closing in on him again. Later that day, Maya noticed Oliver's distant expression. "What's wrong?" she asked, concern etching her features. "I heard them," Oliver said, his voice trembling. "They're planning to sabotage me during the audition. What if they try to make me look stupid?" Maya's eyes widened. "What? That is not okay. You can't let them get to you. You're a great dancer, and you deserve this chance." "I don't know if I can go through with it," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "Maybe it's safer just to stay out of it." Maya shook her head firmly. "No, Oliver. If you let fear win, they'll have already succeeded. You need to stand up for yourself. You owe it to yourself to at least try." The conversation lingered in Oliver's mind. He found himself standing in front of the mirror later that night, practicing his moves. Each plie and jeté felt like a battle against the doubts swirling in his head. He closed his eyes, imagining the stage, the lights, and the audience. Could he really do this? The next day, the atmosphere in the studio was electric. Dancers stretched and warmed up, laughter and chatter filling the space. Oliver watched as his classmates prepared for the audition. The fear of sabotage still loomed, but he noticed something else, a sense of camaraderie among the dancers. "Hey, Oliver," one of them called out, breaking through his thoughts. "Are you ready for the audition? I heard it's going to be amazing." "Yeah, I'm getting there," he replied, trying to sound confident. But inside, his heart raced. As the days passed, Oliver kept practicing, his determination growing. He knew that he had to face the audition head on. He would not let the fear of his classmates' actions hold him back. He remembered Maya's words, "True strength lies in authenticity." The night before the audition, Oliver sat in his room, his heart pounding. He picked up his phone and texted Maya, "I'm scared. What if they really try to sabotage me?" A moment later, his phone buzzed with her reply, "You're stronger than you think. Just remember why you love dancing. You've got this." Her words wrapped around him like a warm blanket. He took a deep breath, allowing a small smile to break through the fear. Tomorrow would be his chance to shine. No matter what happened, he would dance. As he lay in bed, Oliver closed his eyes and imagined himself on stage, free and confident. He felt the weight of his dreams pressing against his chest, but he also felt the spark of hope igniting within him. Tomorrow was not just an audition, it was the beginning of something new. And for the first time in a long time, he felt ready to embrace it. The day of the audition finally arrived, and Oliver Hart stood backstage, feeling the weight of the world pressing down on him. The sound of music floated in from the stage, a reminder of the dream he had chased for so long. He took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm of nerves swirling in his stomach. "Hey, you got this," Maya whispered, appearing beside him. Her bright smile felt like a warm light in the cold, tense air. "Just remember why you love to dance." Oliver nodded, but doubt crept into his mind. What if he stumbled? What if his classmates laughed? The fear of their ridicule felt like a heavy cloak around his shoulders. He glanced toward the stage, where a small crowd had gathered. Some faces were familiar, friends from the ballet school, but others were not. He recognized the sneers of a few boys from school, their eyes glinting with mischief. "Just focus on your movements," Maya said, giving him a gentle nudge. "Dance like no one is watching. Dance for yourself." He took another deep breath and stepped closer to the curtain. With each step, he felt the energy of the dance floor pull him in. He could hear whispers from the audience, some encouraging, some critical. It was a mix that made his heart race. "Oliver," a voice called out. It was Mrs. Larkin, his ballet teacher. She stood at the side, her presence steady and calming. "Remember to breathe and let the music guide you. You have worked hard for this moment." Feeling a surge of determination, Oliver nodded again. He thought of the countless hours he had spent in class, the joy he felt when he danced, and the support he found in Maya and his fellow dancers. He could not let fear control him today. As the curtain rose, the lights hit him like a spotlight from the sun. He stepped onto the stage, his heart pounding. The audience blurred into a sea of faces, some smiling, some frowning, but he pushed that aside. He needed to focus. The music began, soft and inviting. Oliver let himself move, feeling the rhythm flow through him. With each step, he transformed his anxiety into energy. He spun and leaped, pouring every ounce of emotion into the performance. He felt the presence of his classmates' skepticism, but refused to let it dim his light. "Look at him," one boy whispered to another, his voice laced with mockery. "He thinks he's a real dancer." But Oliver ignored them, channeling his struggles into every movement. He remembered the laughter and the taunts, but he also remembered the moments of joy in the studio, the feeling of freedom as he danced. His solo began, and for that brief moment, the world faded away. It was just him and the music. He told his story through dance, expressing his dreams and fears. Every turn and leap became a testament to his journey. The audience watched in awe as he transformed doubt into strength, weaving a narrative of resilience with his body. "Go, Oliver!" Maya shouted from the sidelines, her voice breaking through the noise. With renewed energy, Oliver launched into the climax of his performance. He executed a breathtaking leap, soaring through the air as if he were defying gravity. The moment felt suspended in time, and for that heartbeat, he was not just a boy from school. He was a dancer, powerful and free. As he landed gracefully, the applause erupted like thunder. Oliver stood there, breathless and overwhelmed. He had done it. He had confronted his fears head-on and poured his heart out on that stage. The warmth of appreciation washed over him like sunlight. "Bravo!" someone shouted from the audience, and he could hear Maya clapping enthusiastically. Oliver took a moment to savor the applause, feeling seen and valued for the first time in a long while. He glanced toward the front of the audience and caught sight of his father, his expression a mix of surprise and pride. In that instant, Oliver understood that he had not only danced for himself, but had shown his father what it meant to follow one's passion. With a smile breaking across his face, Oliver bowed. Whatever happened next, he knew he had taken a significant step forward. Today had been a day of reckoning, not just for him, but for everyone who had doubted him. As he left the stage, the echoes of applause followed him, a reminder that he was not alone in his journey. The performance ended with a burst of applause that echoed throughout the theater. Oliver stood on stage, breathless and overwhelmed by a rush of emotions. The bright lights made it hard to see the audience, but he could feel their energy. For the first time, he felt truly seen and appreciated. In the front row, Oliver's father, once a figure of strict expectations, was on his feet, clapping loudly. His expression was a mix of pride and surprise. "You did it, son," he shouted, his voice cutting through the noise. Oliver's heart swelled at the sound, even as he felt a wave of confusion wash over him. As the applause continued, Oliver turned to Maya, who stood backstage with tears of joy in her eyes. "Did you see that? They loved it," she exclaimed, her smile brightening the dim area behind the curtains. "I can't believe it," Oliver said, still in shock. "I was so scared." "Of course you were, but you turned that fear into something beautiful. You told your story out there," Maya replied, her enthusiasm infectious. "You're a dancer, Oliver. You've always been one." The moment felt surreal, but as the crowd slowly quieted down, the reality of his performance began to sink in. He had faced his fears and stepped into the spotlight, but the victory was bittersweet. The memories of the bullying from his classmates came rushing back, and he wondered whether this applause would change anything for him at school. "Oliver!" a familiar voice called out. It was one of his classmates, Sam, who had teased him relentlessly. Oliver braced himself for another jab. Instead, Sam stepped closer, a hesitant look on his face. I saw your audition. You were really good." "Thanks," Oliver replied, cautious but curious. You came to watch? Yeah, I didn't think you could dance like that. It was impressive, Sam said, looking down at his shoes. I'm sorry for what I said before. You know, about being a weirdo. Oliver felt a flicker of hope. You really mean that? Yeah, I guess I was just jealous. You did something brave, Sam admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. Maya watched the exchange with a knowing smile. See, Oliver, you're already making a difference. People are starting to see you for who you really are. As the audience began to leave, Oliver spotted his mother, waving excitedly. She rushed to him, pulling him into a tight hug. I am so proud of you. You were amazing up there, she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with tears. Thanks, Mom. I just wanted to dance, Oliver said, feeling the warmth of her embrace. Then, he glanced back at his father, who was now making his way through the crowd. The moment felt heavy with anticipation. Would his father understand his passion? Would he finally accept Oliver's choice to dance? Son, his father said, reaching him at last. I didn't know you had it in you. That was incredible. Thanks, Dad. It means a lot to hear you say that, Oliver replied, his voice wavering slightly. I've been thinking, his father continued, rubbing the back of his neck. Maybe I've been too hard on you about sports. I see how much this means to you. I want to support you. Oliver's heart raced. Really? You mean it? Yeah. I just want you to be happy, his father said, his eyes softening. And if dancing makes you happy, then I'm all for it. Maya smiled, witnessing the moment unfold. Oliver could hardly believe what was happening. It was as if a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. Thank you, Dad. I really appreciate it, Oliver said, feeling a sense of relief wash over him. As they stood together, a group of supportive dancers gathered around Oliver, cheering and celebrating him. You did it, Oliver! We knew you could, one of them shouted. His heart swelled with joy, but a part of him still felt the shadows of the past. The journey to acceptance would not end here. It was only the beginning. With Maya and his newfound support, Oliver realized he was not alone in this fight. Let's keep dancing, he said, raising his arms in the air, a smile breaking across his face. In that moment, he understood that the road ahead might be challenging, but he was ready to embrace it. Together, they would face whatever came next. In the days following the audition, Oliver felt a change within himself. The applause still echoed in his mind, a reminder of the power of his performance. With each dance class, he found that his confidence grew. The studio became a sanctuary where he could express himself freely, away from the doubts and fears that haunted him in the hallways of school. One afternoon, as he practiced his pirouettes, Maya entered the studio with a bright smile. You were amazing at the audition, Oliver. I can't believe how far you've come, she said, her eyes sparkling with pride. Thanks, Maya. It feels different now. I feel lighter, Oliver replied, his voice filled with a mix of disbelief and joy. The weight of his classmates' taunts seemed to lift, if only a little. As he continued to dance, he noticed something shifting. The way he moved felt less like an escape and more like a celebration of who he was. He could hear the music enveloping him, and with each step, he embraced his identity as a dancer. However, the real test awaited him when he returned to school. The thought of facing his classmates filled him with anxiety. What if they laugh again? He wondered aloud as he walked with Maya toward the school entrance. You're not that same kid anymore, Maya encouraged, placing her hand on his shoulder. You've shown them what you can do. Just be yourself. Taking a deep breath, Oliver stepped into the school. The hallways buzzed with chatter and laughter, but this time he held his head high. He caught sight of a few classmates who had bullied him before, but instead of feeling the familiar sting of their words, he felt a flicker of strength. Look who thinks he's a dancer now, one of them sneered, crossing his arms with a smirk. Oliver paused, heart racing. but instead of shrinking away, he took a step forward. "Yes, I am a dancer, and I'm proud of it," he said, surprising even himself with the firmness in his voice. His response caught the group off guard. For a moment, silence hung in the air, and Oliver felt the power of his own words. The bully blinked, unsure of how to react. Oliver turned on his heel and walked away, a sense of triumph swelling within him. Later that day, Oliver sat at the lunch table with Maya and a few new friends from the ballet school. They shared stories, laughter, and a sense of belonging that warmed Oliver's heart. For the first time, he felt like he was part of something bigger. As the week passed, Oliver's relationship with his father began to shift as well. One evening, after dinner, he found his dad watching highlights of old football games. The room was filled with cheers and shouts from the TV. Oliver hesitated before speaking. "Dad, can we talk?" His father turned, surprised. "Sure, buddy. What's on your mind?" "I really want to share my dance with you. It's important to me," Oliver said, his voice steady. His father's expression softened. "I didn't realize how much it meant to you. I'd love to see you dance," he replied, a hint of understanding in his tone. "Really? You'd come to my next performance?" Oliver asked, his heart racing with hope. "Absolutely. I'd be proud to be there," his father said, a smile breaking across his face. The next performance loomed on the horizon, and Oliver threw himself into rehearsals. Each day, he felt a deeper connection to the music and the movements. The studio felt like home, and he danced with a spirit of resilience. "Remember, it's about expressing yourself," Maya reminded him during a break. "You have the power to inspire others through your dance. I want to show everyone that it's okay to be different," Oliver replied, determination shining in his eyes. As the day of the performance approached, Oliver felt ready, not just to dance, but to embrace fully who he was. He was no longer just the boy caught between two worlds. He had become a dancer, a dreamer, and an inspiration for those around him. With every leap and turn, he would remind himself that authenticity was his greatest strength. And as he prepared to step onto the stage once again, he knew he was not alone in his journey. He had found his place, and it was beautiful. Share this story if you believe that embracing your true self can conquer even the toughest challenges. Leave a comment about a moment when you found strength in your passion, and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories like this one.